ASMR. And today, I hope you're doing well, first and foremost. If not, if you've been having a day or a week, that is totally okay. This video is going to be a lot more laid back, chilled, kicking it, because we are here to talk about a movie haul that I've had, and I just got recently, and I wanted to make this video for a couple reasons. But firstly and foremost, if you are new here and are not up to date with what this channel is all about, I am Cinephile ASMR, your home and go-to place for movies, pop culture, ASMR, put into one. So if you haven't, comment what you thought about this really eclectic haul, and subscribe please if you have not, and turn on that notification bell, while also following me on my letterbox. This is the app that I use to log every movie I've seen before I actually start talking about it on camera. And I think the biggest point of this video, and I know I will get to the movie haul shortly, if you cannot wait and you just want to get to the meat of this video, feel free to skip to about here. Please do so. Okay, you can go away now. Get out of here. Sorry about that. My editor just doesn't really listen to me sometimes. But all jokes aside, I really wanted to make this video because of the experience I had attaining these movies and where I went and how it all kind of falls into perfect place because of where we're at currently in the age of physical media. In the past, I would say 3 months alone, some of the biggest physical media distributors have gone on record and have already taken these movies down from their shelves and are no longer continuing the selling of physical media. So this has required me to look outward to try and find any place I can to kind of fill that hole in my heart, and that is where I found a local place that is actually a chain throughout California and Southern California, for me at least, called Book Off. Now, Book Off to me is almost like a Goodwill for media, whether it is movies, books, music, CDs, vinyls, action figures, manga, all of these things. You will find this is a physical media collector's heaven. There are rows and rows stacked to the nines with some of the wildest movies you will ever see at some pretty terrific prices. And I would not be making this video if it wasn't for the experience that it made me feel, because we need to support now more than ever, putting our money where our mouth is, places like this, when the titans themselves are not doing it anymore. Physical media was not the juggernaut of a cash cow it once was. That doesn't mean it needs to stop existing. And in the age of platforms discontinuing and deleting things for tax write-offs, for space, this is why we need the things that we call physical media. So please, if you can, go support it. The workers are probably some of the chillest people you'll know. They love it just like you do as the customer. It is so good, and that is why I'm here today, because that experience was pretty incredible. But alas, we are here to talk about movies and the haul that I got, and I try to organize it to certain categories. And the first was the one DVD I got with a movie that I think is dearly needing of a rewatch, with Alex Wingard's The Guest. This movie is an entire throwback to 80s filmmaking, and I love every second of it. Dan Stevens is taking 2024 by storm, and it's made it impossible for me to not think about his performance in this. He was in the new Godzilla X Kong, he was in Abigail, and he's probably the best parts of both of those movies. But this is a man who has no business being as intimidating as he is. It is this very grisly, bloody, neon-drenched film, a revenge thriller of sorts, if you will. And I found this on DVD, not by choice. It was far more because I couldn't find the Blu-ray. But I actually think, and here's my argument that I've been formulating over the past, I would say, few months, is that certain movies look at their best, whether the stories that they're trying to tell or how they are told on DVD. I did a video prior, a movie store roleplay, and I picked the holdovers for this exact reason. Certain movies look incredible on DVD, and I think it is becoming our VHS. Very fun, very, very fascinated to rewatch this, and that was just something that I found as I was about to check out too. Now this next one does need some explaining, because I think the general consensus on this movie is not good, and if I'm going to be honest, I don't disagree with them, but with the slipcover included, I had to get Jupiter Ascending as the #1 Wachowski sisters lover. This is one of the only films that I didn't own. I saw it, I think, around the time Matrix Resurrections was coming out, and I thought it was okay. Thought it was by far their weakest effort, but there is something kind of intoxicating even about the lower tier Wachowski films, and I think it is an unapologetic abrasiveness to the storytelling. This film does know what I think it is trying to do, but if for anything, it is a sci-fi film that these two performances keep me coming back, because when I first saw it, I'm gonna be real, I thought they were terrible. I thought their chemistry was off balance entirely. I don't really like Mila Kunis as an actor too much. I love Channing Tatum, but when he is like an elvish creature who has these flying boots, I was like, no, I'm tuning it out. But the more I think about it, even as I'm saying it, I'm like, wait, maybe I need to tap in again. And with this slipcover, it's like $5. Could not go wrong. But that does go hand in hand with the next film I got, which is technically 4 movies in one. The irony of this is, with this being purchased, I own the first Matrix in I think 3 to 4 different versions. I own a Blu-ray, 2 4Ks, because one of them came in a box set with the other 2, and this. But I own all 3 of these. I got it for the Animatrix, which I actually think is the cherry on top of what the Matrix experience is, which the Wachowskis intended it to be. This multimedia experience, whether through anime, whether through comic books, whether through websites, video games, and the movies. It was something that was sprawling the internet at its time, and it made me realize we just don't get that anymore. But the Animatrix is some of the most finest animated filmmakers coming together to kind of tie in the gaps that Matrix 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 have. It adds a layer of density and expansion to the world building. There is not one bad segment on here. You have some of the most bright and visionistic, is that even a word, visionistic? I don't know. Sometimes I just say big words because they make me feel smarter. But these anime filmmakers are doing it in a league of their own. And I needed to own this. I did, and I'm so glad I found it. I love all of these movies to death, but I did it for this. Very happy I own it. And although I would love to find some connective tissue between that last movie, The Animatrix, or the Matrix films as a whole, to this next one, there isn't. And honestly, a lot of it boils down to me not knowing much about this movie other than the director and the 4 cast members. Terrence Malick is a filmmaker who imbues his spirituality into every frame. It feels like you are going on a religious excursion in every one of his movies, and I have no idea what this is about. Just the fact that Natalie Portman, Michael Fassbender, Ryan Gosling, and Rooney Mara star in this film, to a filmmaker who I think around 2011 is when he did The Tree of Life, which is exceptional. But prior to that, he hadn't made a movie in a couple decades, and then after that, he just started making more and more, and this is one of those films. I am intrigued. I think the best thing about a Malick project is the fact that the less you know, the better off you'll be, and I believe this is shot by one of the greatest DPs working, Emmanuel Lubezki. The way that he frames handheld, it does not feel like it was planned ahead of time, but every one of his movies have like ideas, and the visuals come to boot with it. I'm intrigued. I wish I could say more about it. I literally know nothing, next to nothing. And again, though, another tie-in. You know me, I love to have cohesion. This film is one that I have been searching for, perusing online in the stores, and I couldn't find it at a price or an accessible rate that I was like, yeah, let me get it. But now I bit the bullet, and I'm very glad I did, because this film has been rattling in my brain for a while. Another Ryan Gosling film with The Place Beyond the Pines. I get a lot of people sometimes ask me in different variations of what is a movie that has subverted my expectations, and on a pure narrative and just structural level, this movie almost tries to force you to not like it at a certain point because of the way it shifts focus, the way that all three of these performers are doing things entirely different, but they're synchronized and succinct to tell a story whose visual element, whose technical craft, I was blown away by this when I saw it, I want to say like in 2016, and little by little through the growth of both of their careers, I've wanted to jump back into it, because this movie's like 13, 12 years old, but it hit me like a freight train when I watched it, and it comes down to really the conviction a filmmaker and a storyteller has to executing their ideas to its fullest. I think Ryan Gosling may be the hottest he's ever been in this movie. I actually have no idea who shot this movie, but whoever did is gonna get a kiss on the cheek. Yeah, and again, this is one of the wildest screenplays of the past 2 decades. It is co-written by the director and writer of that movie that came out a few years back called Sound of Metal, which followed that drummer who started to lose his sense of hearing. So again, that kind of movie, if you've seen it, kind of gives you an idea as to how real and honest the portrayals of what the story is doing is in this. So, I told you, there is no lack of variety in these films. And jumping off of this to the next one, a movie that I considered as an upbringing the best of this director's career, the best of the lead actor's career, and catch me on a certain day when I'm feeling nice and warm in my pajamas, I might agree with myself. I don't know though, and I'm shocked I don't own this. I cannot get enough of Minority Report, a sci-fi staple, if you ask me. This is the movie that you ask me again, and I say you as if you have actually ever asked me this, but if someone really were to ask me what is an actor-director pairing that I would want, I could not keep thinking about Minority Report anymore to that answer, because Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg, industry veterans, kind of leapt onto the screen around the similar time of the 70s and 80s, and have been doing things so differently in their own lanes, divulged for 2 projects, War of the Worlds, which I think is good, and this. And I just honestly think the way that the story unfolds, the way the technology is implemented into this movie, the way it's shot, the way it breathes, the oxygen in the atmosphere of this movie is intoxicating. I could not get enough of it. I don't know if it is still my favorite Steven Spielberg one, but to me it is the film that I remember distinctly watching really late when I was like 10, and I thought to myself, this is incredible. And I remember at the time my mom showing me different Steven Spielberg movies, Indiana Jones, Jaws, Close Encounters, and all of them were met with, this is amazing, this is fantastic. And then I was scrolling and I was like, wait, what is this? And my mom was like, no, don't worry about that. But to me, I was like, okay, let me tap in. And it changed me. It changed me. I'm very excited. I'm shocked there's no 4K of this, but I'm very excited to, just look at this man, just tell that he's standing on a business. So out of all the movies that I got in this movie haul, this one I know the least about as well, with song to song, but I also just really don't have much to say to it. If you've ever seen Ronin, please let me know what you think. I got this solely off the fact that this is one of my dad's self-proclaimed favorite movies. He's owned the DVD. I really wanted to upgrade for him, but I'm also like reading this, and I did some research, and there's like a car chase, and the way that the director describes this is he saw so many samurai movies and wanted to do his own spin, but in a modern day setting at the time, in a completely foreign location. And there's just something about that is so unbelievably gangster, wanting to make a samurai film in the modern day. I just think that's really cool. But with it, I just don't know much about it at all. So if you've ever seen Ronin, please let me know. Shout out my dad though. I just saw it and I was like, you know what? For the price, it looks good, and it might even be even better to me than I think my dad would think. So I'm anticipating what that's going to bring. These last two, I had a whole list created of movies that I wanted to get. A lot of them I couldn't find, but these two, both, and it was alphabetized as well, I found next to each other. And when I tell you, I almost screamed, leapt in the air like a damn Looney Tunes character. And I don't even know why, for one, because this I've never even seen. But okay, like before I say anything, look at this cover. This is like one of the coolest things you could ever see. I personally have not seen Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, but I think especially with the release of his new film Megalopolis, which he self-financed through his wine company, there's something very alluring about watching this. One of the coolest posters covers you will ever see. Gary Oldman's in this. It looks immaculately lit. It looks so warm and textured, and I don't think we get enough gaudy vampire projects. I think if we do, they try and modernize it, but I just think there's something so beautifully authentic about that gothic location. It feels Shakespearean, very poetic, and I know not much anything else outside of Gary Oldman, Francis Ford Coppola, and that this cover made me buy it alone, and I'm just so excited. In this last one though, this is the kind of movie, and this might invoke a certain question to you, which is a movie that you watched on initial release, or you watched it once, loved it, but the more you think about it, and it can be a lot of time in between that watch to when you're thinking about it, but it just infects your mind. And at this point, realistically speaking, when I rewatch this movie, it may wind up being a top 4. I think it's the best film in this older filmmaker's career, whose late stretch of movies, the last 4 he's made, are some of the best the 21st century has been graced with. But Martin Scorsese, the man who has that dog in him, Silence, I think fundamentally changed me. It put me into a trajectory not only to love Martin Scorsese so much more, but also the belief system that I have, the way that I go about my opinions and expression was heavily circumvented through this movie. A movie that I think is the grandest testament for films that are spiritual versus overtly religious and trying to push ideals down your throat. Some of the most effective pieces of art are the ones where the filmmakers aren't in their way trying to say, I want you to feel this, but they're trying to tell a story and uplift it in any way they can, and you feel and learn things by nature. And I say this because there is a lot of terrible Catholic and Christian movies that are just made to push ideas, not made for the sake of filmmaking. This has imagery and shot compositions in this that I don't even know how to fully describe, but as I'm watching it, it is like history is being made before my eyes. I am unbelievably eager to jump back into this movie. I'm fearful for the person I'm going to become after. I might like it maybe a little less than what I'm hyping it up to, but if you even ever seen this, I really don't think there is a more suited filmmaker to be in the discussion of them making the best films they've had, the latest in their career. Most filmmakers who kind of start to make the projects they make in the later stages of their life kind of lose the sauce. But Scorsese, with this, Wolf of Wall Street, The Irishman, Killers of the Flower Moon, he is proving that the man almost is practically getting started. The rate that he comes out with these behemoth films, it is really, really unbelievably inspiring to me. And I'm excited. It feels weird and pseudo-distasteful to say that I'm excited to jump back into Silence, one of the most harrowing, dark, and treacherous journeys and voyages you can go into people confronting their own beliefs. It's about, let me just read the back though. It is one of the best ideas too. Story of two Christian missionaries, played by Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield, who traveled to Japan in search of their missing mentor, played by Liam Neeson, at a time when Christianity was outlawed. When they are captured and imprisoned, both men are plunged into an odyssey that will test their faith, challenge their sanity, and perhaps risk their very lives in this film. Now, I do think that the concept, like the plot synopsis, does not do this film justice. In the hands of anyone else, it would have been a mess. But Marty, that man, really does know how to pull off an effective story. So there you have it. All of these films really at a nice price. The experience and just that feeling of not having expectations, going into a store, being met with all these different films that you may not have even heard of. If you do not have a book off near you, please try and find any spot, even a Goodwill. You will be met with an unforgettable experience, and you are going to cherish it. And by nature, the things you are going to get from there, you'll find some of your familial favorites, but also some new ones, and that is a part of the fun. I think we don't get that anymore. It was first Bye-Bye from Blockbuster, now Target and Best Buy are doing away with it too. This is why we need to support the little underdogs that are going to carry us to hopefully a resurgence one day of physical media. I don't know. It is like a pendulum shift, One day it's not going to be, and next, hopefully, we get more of them. Let me know again of what you thought about all these movies down below. Please comment what is an experience that you've had going out to find something. Doesn't even have to be movies, books, music that has deeply resonated with you. I love to hear each and every one of your stories that I do read, and it fills my day with so much joy. Thank you so much for tuning into this little video. I love you all so very much. You've made my day so much brighter, a lot more worth living, believe it or not, and I hope I can do the same for you. But on top of everything, remember to take life one frame